Hi. So this video is kind of different than the ones that I do. And I haven't been on YouTube. YouTube's not really my thing. But I wanted to just come on here and talk for a bit. I mostly do, makeup tutorials because that's my thing. But recently I have been feeling under the weather and a lot has happened. So there's a bunch of stuff to unpack. When I moved down to this area, I didn't know anyone. It was, a whole climate experience. It was a whole change for me. It was a cultural change, actually, not climate change. But I was raised in the city. I was, I had all my friends there. But moving to a place where you don't know anyone, where you feel so, I don't know, you feel like you don't belong. And I was like, whatever, it's alright. And we moved for certain reasons, not only because we bought a house, but for other reasons as well. And when I moved, when we moved, me and my parents moved, I was just not myself. I was always angry, depressed, anxious. I mean, you name it. And I was like, I can't do it anymore, I can't do this. So I started to read my Bible. And it was like a random Bible that my mom found at her job. And I was reading the Bible. But then I was like, you know what? I'm not reading it. Like, what's the point? I don't, whatever. So I went back to my old habits of, being depressed, anxious, worrying, doubting, all of that. And I kept telling myself, I was like, why can't I feel better? Why can't I just have peace for once in my life, And something kept telling me, you need to find God. You need to find God. You need to talk to Him. You need to pray to Him. You need to find God. And I grew up in a Catholic family. Me personally, did not go to church. Like, we don't go to church like that anymore. But I don't go to church. I never did. I believed in those tarot cards, manifestations and all that stuff. But I never went to church. And once we moved, this was when I found myself. I felt like it was time for a change. Not only mentally, physically, emotionally, but spiritually. I wasn't happy back then in Northern Virginia. A certain situation happened where I wasn't supposed to be with this person. I wanted dad love. That's what I call it. That's the way I see it. I wanted dad love. I had daddy issues back then, and I went with this person that was way older than me. And I was only 18. And I thought in my head, I'm like, that's love. You know, this is the way a person is supposed to treat you. And it wasn't. And that's when everything in my life went downhill. I felt alone, depressed, angry, because in my head I'm like, this is my fault. I did this with this person because I wanted love. And it took me some time to not even some time, it took me 3 years, and it's still taking me time to actually realize it wasn't my fault. And I tell myself, it's not your fault. What happened to you? It's not. And like I said, once that situation happened and we moved, like I said, I was isolated. I isolated myself. I didn't talk to my parents. And I was just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm so lost. I am only 19 at this time, you know, at that time that of me moving and all of that. And I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know who to trust. I don't know what to do. So, no, years passed. 3 years, of course, passed. And I told myself, I was like, you need to find God. That's what you need. So I went to Barnes & Noble and I bought a Bible. I read it and everything. And at first I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it. But again, I went back to my old habits of sinning and doing stuff that I know I'm not supposed to do. And I was like, you know what, whatever. So I threw my Bible away. I was like, no, I don't need it. I don't need God. God's not real. You know, God's just a fictional character. Like, that's what I would tell myself. And once I threw the Bible away, I was like, you know what, I'm not believing in God because He doesn't help me. He's not here with me. He's not working with me when I need Him. Like, He's not listening to my prayers. He's not doing anything for me. So what's the point of me believing in God? And another situation happened which I'm not going to talk about. I don't like talking about it. I don't like thinking about it. But it's another situation that happened. And I was like, I can't do it. And I told my parents, I was like, I need to go and find God. I need to go to a church. I need to talk to God. I need God to prove Himself that He's real. And one night, once I got off work, I was, you know, I did my regular stuff that I usually do when I come from work. I feed my chickens because I have chickens, and my dogs and my cats and stuff. And later that night, my heart felt so heavy. It felt super heavy to the point where my whole entire world was just coming down. I felt it just crumbling, and I knew it wasn't me. I never reacted that way with my parents. I never reacted the way that I reacted that day. And something was wrong. And I burst out crying in the shower. I mean, crying, like bawling my eyes out. And I prayed in the shower, and I told God, I'm like, dear God, if you're here with me right now, comfort me. I need to feel your love. I need to feel your peace. Take my worries, my depression, my anxiety, my doubt. Take everything away from me. Clear my mind. I need you to clear my mind because I don't know what's going on right in this very moment. When I tell you, I felt something warm just hug me. Like, I felt his presence there. I felt him telling me it's going to be okay. And I got out of the shower and I went to bed not thinking anything of it. And then I bought another Bible. I went to Barnes & Noble. I went to buy another Bible the following day. I picked it out, whatever. I brought it home and I promised myself, I was like, Monse, you're gonna read this Bible, doesn't matter if you want to, like, if you're not feeling it, you're going to force yourself to read it, okay? So I bought my Bible and I started reading it, and I felt calmness, I felt peace. And I have pictures of what I was reading, if I can find them. Sorry. I was reading the Bible. I started with John because I did my research, and in order for you to understand God and how he works and stuff like that, in order for you to know God, to understand him, there's ways or passages of where you can read it and stuff. I started reading John first. Here we go. So this was on September 26th. And I think it is, I can't remember the passage from where I got this from because I cropped it, but it says, and I highlighted it, if you are walking in darkness without a ray of light, trust in the Lord and rely on your God. I landed on that page I don't know why. I was flipping through my Bible. I landed on that page. Again, if you are walking in darkness without a ray of light, trust in the Lord and rely on your God. I just looked at it. I looked at that verse and I started bawling. I was crying. Like, just, I needed some peace in mind, and that verse gave it me. It gave me it. And I just kept thanking God. I was like, thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I've never, like I said, I've never believed in God. I, never went to church because I was like, it's pointless, it's useless. I grew up Catholic, but, we never went to, like, my parents went to church and stuff, kind of. But me personally, I never believed in God. But I feel like I had to hit rock bottom in order for me to rely on God, in order for me to rely on the only man that I can trust, that I can feel loved, that I can feel at peace, and that is God. God didn't want me to rely on older men. What happened prior to all of this God's way of telling me, you need to stop, you need to come to me. Trust me. And I'm glad, I am so glad that God spoke to me that way, because I don't know where I would be in this very moment. I don't know. And feeling God, feeling His love, His peace, it just gives you relaxation. It literally makes you feel so at peace, to the point where you don't fear anything but God. You don't fear people. I mean, it's crazy how He works. But yeah, yesterday I was, of course, angry. And of course, you know, we have our days of anger, we have our days of depression, we have our days of worry, fear, all of this doubt. And I'm not perfect. I even up to like this day of me finding God and stuff, I struggle with sinning. I struggle with curse words. I struggle with doubting myself. I still struggle with trusting God, but I know that I'm in good hands, and He brought me here. He made me come into this world for a purpose. I know that. But yesterday, this is another story. Yesterday, I was angry. I didn't feel myself, and I was like, whatever. I was crying and crying and crying, and I went into my room. You know, I was gonna go to bed. I didn't read my Bible. I was going to bed, and I kept crying and crying, and I just sat in silence for a few minutes. I sat in silence, and I was like, God, if you're here, help me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why these things keep happening to me and stuff like that. You know, I talked to Him, I prayed to Him, and for some reason in my head, I kept hearing Isaiah 28, Isaiah 28, Isaiah 28. And in my Bible, it doesn't say I turned to that page, of course, but on top of that page it said Psalm 61 verse 1 through 8, and it said, God, listen to my cries, hear my prayers. From the ends from the ends of the world I cry to you for help when my heart is overwhelmed. He took me to that page because He knew I needed Him. He knew I was going through it. He knew everything in my heart, everything that I had in my heart was overwhelming. He knew that. And He told me, read it. Go to Isaiah 28 and read Psalms 61 verse 1 through 8. He knows that. He knew that. It's crazy how He works. I've always been afraid of, you know, people judging me for creating or for believing in God. I was scared. But when I tell you God changes you, He changes your heart. He gives you peace and love. He knows what He's doing. I struggle with patience. That's my main factor. Patience. I struggle with it so bad. But every day I ask Him, I'm like, God, give me patience. And I feel it. I feel it. I don't, you know, I don't feel like I have to do certain things at, like, when it's being asked to and stuff like that. I have patience. But to me, it's just crazy how he works. How he created the world, and he gives you peace and love, and that's the only thing I want. It's crazy to believe, to just think that he does all of this, you know? When I tell you, trust in God, put your faith in God, your life's going to change. It's going to change completely. Completely. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, this is my testimony. This is me putting myself out there, and, you know, telling you guys, trust in God. Trust Him. Rely on Him. He won't leave you. He won't leave you. Your friends will. That happened to me. But your God will never leave you. Trust when I say that. But yeah. That's my testimony. Of course, it's not very long, but I just wanted to share what God has done for me the past 3 years. Or not even the past 3 years, but until now. Like right now, in this very moment, what He has done in my life. And I'm so glad and I'm so grateful for that. For Him giving me peace and His love, and me relying on Him and not relying on anybody else but just Him and His word. And I know, like I said, I know I sin, and I tell Him that every day. I'm like, I'm sorry, God, if I did this, if I cursed, I'm so sorry. But He understands that I'm trying, and that's the only thing that matters. He knows that I surrendered, and that's the only thing that matters. So yeah. Trust and believe me when I tell you, God will change your life. God will change it for the better. He has nothing bad about Him. He won't make your life feel like... He won't make your life bad. Trust me. He'll make it good. But yeah, it's my testimony. I'm glad I did this. I'm really glad I did this. So yeah, I'll see you in my next video.